Well, we're glad to have you on, though, so thanks for coming on. Tell us about your group.
Yeah, so Linea De Fuego is an action shooting club. We put on different types of events. We'll call it in the competitive gun events. One of the things that's really popular for us is the USPSA style. We call it running and gunning. We do matches on the second and fourth Saturdays of every month. We also put on a steel match, which is quite popular with, we'll call it more of the entry-level shooters. That is on a fifth Saturday, whenever there is a fifth Saturday in the month, which usually comes around about 4 times a year. And then on a second Sunday of the month, we also hold a 3-gun competition, which we tend to pull in more of your, I would say, a high-level experienced shooter, because the 3-gun competitions are much more gear-intensive. In that case, you're dealing with pistol, rifle, and shotgun in a single stage. And so I would say it's a bit more of an advanced style competition, but any of the competitions we have are really geared for not only for entry-level shooters, people that want to become a better shooter just in general, with whether it's firearm safety, gun handling, or if they really want to get serious about the competition, it caters to the highest level of competitors as well.
That's awesome. Now, that's that all sounds very fun. That all sounds really cool. Now, let's go back. You mentioned a couple different terms. USPSA, tell us about that.
Yeah, so USPSA is United States Pistol Shooting Association. That is actually I'm going to say it's a national club or organization, and it actually governs the rules by which we sanction our events. So we've got rule books and guidelines that we need to follow. And one of the cool things about USPSA, as being that we provide a sanctioned event, is that when you shoot one of our events, we have one stage that we call a classifier. So based off of your performance, that score actually gets loaded into a national system. And once you get enough events under your belt, you actually get a national ranking. And so what that does is it plays into your ranking as a competitor. So now you're not necessarily looking at you shooting against everybody else, but you're shooting against other people, in the same type of division, or we'll call it the type of guns that you're shooting, as well as somebody who is of similar skill level to you. So it gives you an idea how you're doing against other competitors of that same skill level, and that's a nationwide system.
So that's awesome. So it's standardized across the nation. Now we're talking about pistol shooting.
That is correct.
Okay, yep. And so just to kind of paint the picture, if I'm listening right now and I own a pistol and want to get involved, when I show up, what exactly am I doing? What type of activities make up a competition?
Okay, so a competition, if you were to if I was to walk you through what the vision of is when you first show up at the match, on average we're getting about 80 competitors, and the matches, our matches actually consist of 6 stages. So it's what we call 6 courses of fire. So it would be, if we look at one stage, the best way to describe it is it's almost like an obstacle course. We would have a number of different types of targets consisting of paper silhouette targets, as well as various types of steel targets, and they're laid out in a way that you may have to navigate around, barricades. You may have to shoot through specific ports, around barrels. There's a wide variety of different types of shooting situations that will, put the shooter into. So basically, it is obviously we are going to promote safety because we are dealing with firearms, and so. As a competitor goes through a course of fire, they are going to be instructed in terms of safety activities by a range officer. So there's really 2 people active in the shooting area at one time. And now
when they start, they're pulling from a holster, or?
Yeah, there's different types of starting positions. The most common one is going to be you're going to draw your firearm from a holster. Most of the times, it's actually loaded. You're loaded hot. Usually your safety is on if your gun comes with a safety. In the case of like a Glock, you don't have a safety, but the safety is designed into the firearm. So yeah, you're starting with a hot firearm. It's, kind of think of yourself as if you were a police officer. You're going to be starting, you're going to be doing your job with a firearm that's loaded. And also you're going to have magazines on your belt because the course of fire generally consists of, on average, I'm going to say 20 to 30 rounds. And since we don't have the luxury of running high cap mags here in California, you can imagine that there are magazine changes included throughout the course of fire.
Okay, so if somebody wants to participate, they're going to need obviously a pistol, they're going to need a holster, they're going to need a couple of extra magazines and a magazine holder, and then eyes and ears. Is that pretty much what people need in order to compete?
Yep, all that, and of course ammo. So on average, we're recommending anywhere from 200 to 250 rounds of ammo per match. But
That's
if
awesome.
anybody really wants to, kind of look at some of the recommendations, they can always go to our website, which is lineadefuego.net. We actually have a section in there that kind of describes some of the gear that we recommend to people in terms of, some of the things that you had mentioned, about the holster, the magazine pouches, mags, and all that fun stuff. So,
Nice.
And they can also reach out to us via email at info@lineadefuego.net. And we actually have a great group of guys that are monitoring that email. So if there's any people that want to get into it, have questions, we've got a great team that are more than welcome to help new shooters and obviously introduce new people to the sport.
How'd you get into it?
It's actually kind of an interesting story. So I was actually watching one of these sports channels, and I saw one of these TV shows. It was Three Gun. And being that I've been shooting since I was about 5 years old, it was something that, excited me, and it kind of piqued my interest. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and it turns out he was actually good friends with one of the board members at the time. And I talked to him, and I said, hey, what is it going to take for me to get into this game? And we talked about gear requirements, and I said, I'd love to come out and watch and check it out. And he said, you know what, if you know how to shoot and you got the gear, it's way more fun to shoot than watch.
Yeah,
it really is.
And so I just kind of, dove into it, and
never looked
I got
back.
Day one, exactly. And so I've been now competing for 4 years, and it's definitely a passion of mine, and I'd say it's a full-time job that I'm doing outside of my standard work, but it's a ton of fun.
All right, Dave. Well, listen, we appreciate you having you on and sharing your sport with us, and people know how to get a hold of you now, and I hope they do. And one last question real quick. So you need a 45, right? Or
you can use any pistol.
Okay.
You can use a revolver, a semi-auto, any caliber.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Good to know. Well, anyway, thanks for coming on, and look for hoping to see you soon.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Dave. Really appreciate it. Nice talking to you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Without someone doing something about it, it's not going to get any better.